Just a quick update, the Patreon page is now live. The link will be down below if you want to check it out. You'll have access to all of my betting packages and much more. Thanks again for all the support, but for now, let's get into the video. Yo, what's up guys, we're back. We're going to be doing the breakdown for UFC Vegas 19, which is a really good card. It's Derrick Lewis taking on Curtis Blaydes, a matchup that we've been, looking forward to for a long time. But obviously, like last time, you guys did an awesome job, man. I asked for 250 likes. We beat that record, so that was awesome. So let's see if we can do 300 this time. Let's see if we can get 300 likes on this video. That would be amazing. The likes really do help a lot. They help with the traction and just everything in terms of just getting these videos out there for everyone. So I really do appreciate it when people leave a like, so please do that. But we're just going to jump right into the fights here with this first fight. Rafael Alves taking on Pat Sabatini. Both these guys, they're newcomers to the UFC. Rafael Alves, he's got his UFC contract from the Contender Series. He hit his patented guillotine choke, ended the fight in the second round, and he's actually a former Titan FC champion. He had 3 finishes in a row, 5-fight win streak in Titan. And he's coming out of MMA Masters, which is a gym that's been doing really well lately. They have another guy on this card that's at his same weight class in Danny Chavez, so I'm sure they've been getting some work in as well. And he's a veteran, he's dangerous. 14 of his 19 wins are finishes, and he's kind of a killer-be-killed guy because all 9 of his losses, he's been finished. He is 5-0 in decisions. On the feet, he's explosive, he's powerful, he's very durable as well. He's been finished by strikes 3 times, but they've all been related to leg injuries, which he does seem like he has a problem with one of his legs. But he's a super flashy, dangerous athlete. He's explosive, like I said. Tends to fight in burst. He's not really the guy that has a lot of cardio. You could tell he has a huge amount of muscle on him. So, when he goes, though, he goes, and he'll throw wild kicks, jump knees, powerful punches, and he tries to put your lights out. He also has nice straight punch counters. When guys try to close the distance, he'll blitz in with them as well. If you start to chase him, he'll also plant and counter with big hooks. He had a pretty nasty knockout in his last Titan FC fight with the hook moving backwards, showing that he has a lot of power. But in my opinion, it seems like he doesn't really like to fight at a high pace. When I say that, he uses a lot of flash, pizzazz to kind of wow the judges. He'll dance in the cage. He'll try to play to the crowd. But, he'll even fake being injured, try to look for counters. He's a very awkward fighter. But you could tell he doesn't like to get hit much. He flops to his back. He doesn't take leg kicks very well either. And fighters with good footwork and kicks on the outside can kind of give him some pressure, give him some problems. And he doesn't deal with forward pressure the best as well, even though he has that counter ability. If guys can avoid that one-shot counter, they can get on the inside, land shots on him. I'm not 100% sold on him yet, but he does have 7 knockouts in his career. He's definitely a powerful guy, and he's a good grappler. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. As a wrestler, I wouldn't say he's a very good wrestler. He's too comfortable off his back, so he'll throw a lot of wild kicks, which, make him fall down. He'll use a lot of submissions to counter the takedowns instead of stuffing them. He has a really nasty guillotine, and he'll attack a lot of different variations of front chokes. He'll use the the bite on the choke to get sweeps, and he has good leg lock sweeps. When Alves gets on top, he isn't super dangerous, but he has good rear naked chokes that he's hit in the past. He doesn't spend a lot of time in top position, though. It seems like he doesn't really have the best top control. And when he gets put on his back, he can spend a lot of time on his back. Doesn't really have the best get-ups. Like I said, he's very comfortable on his back. And he does allow guys to get into dominant positions and then explode. And he's very fast twitch, and he creates scrambles very well. He's one of those fighters that kind of, is good at that, like conserving his energy and then exploding. Same way he does it on the feet, he does it on the ground. But his cardio is suspect, and he's been submitted 6 times in his career because of that factor where he lets guys get into dominant positions and expects to be able to explode out of them. And when he's getting more and more tired, fighters that he's facing has, good control, heavy hips, they can take his back, submit him. They could get him in, arm triangles, arm bars. He's been submitted multiple different ways. But Pat Sabatini, his opponent, he's also a champion as well. He's the Cage Fury fighting champion. He won that in December. And he has a solid regional scene career, just like Alves. He's beaten some good fighters. He actually holds wins over guys like Tony Gravely, John De Jesus, a Bellator fighter, Damon Blackshear, a Bellator fighter. And he's fun to watch. He's finished 11 of his 13 wins. On the feet, he has a karate background, pretty tricky, throws a lot of feints out there, stance switching, uses a lot of kicks. He has a good movement. He has a good switch stance, overhand right. He does a good job of entering into range, faking the level change, coming over the top with big hooks. Doesn't really have the best boxing, but he does have power in his right hand. He can tee off on guys. When he backs him to the cage, he will let go with some long combinations. In boxing range, he is a little bit hittable, and against Alves, he needs to limit the exchanges that he gets into because, he doesn't seem super comfortable exchanging, and he's facing a super fast, powerful guy here, so he needs to be careful with that. But Sabatini has nice front kicks, nice round kicks, throws a lot of kick-punch combinations. He'll mix in some spinning back fists, spinning kicks, flying knees. And like I said, he's a pretty fluid mover. He throws those attacks well. He trains with Paul Felder, so I bet that's kind of where he gets a lot of his spinning attacks from. And he's a good submission grappler as well. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu under Daniel Gracie. Very strong in the clinch. Uses his head well, and he likes to work from the over-under a lot. He doesn't really have a ton of offense from that spot, but looks for trips. He'll throw short punches, some knees to the body. He likes to shoot the single leg, and he has good timing on his double as well. He has decent level changes. Definitely is a grinder. He'll chain wrestle heavily. Very good at landing strikes off the break, re-clinching, re-shooting, and that kind of breaks guys mentally. He will use some unorthodox attacks to get on top. Like he likes to, roll for the legs, and he loves to use the 50-50 guard. Really dangerous heel hooks, and he has a good sweep game. He will use the fireman's carry a lot to get fighters to the ground, and on top, he has good top control. He has good ground and pound. He'll attack body head with short punches, elbows. He likes to get in a half guard, and he has good arm locks from there, good guillotines. He'll attack the arm triangle. He has very heavy hips, and he's a good passer. And when he can take the mount or the back, he's very hard to get out from under. He has several rear naked choke victories, and he has good submission defense. He's a very tough guy. He actually had his shoulder or his elbow dislocated against James Gonzalez, never tapped. And James Gonzalez, he doesn't have the best record as an MMA fighter, but trained with Aljamain Sterling at that camp, and he's a very high-level black belt. And Sabatini just got caught in submission early, but Sabatini has 10 submission wins. He really wears on opponents, has really good cardio. And I actually like this fight for Sabatini. He's an underdog, but outside of an explosive finish, I think his heavy top pressure game will be able to dominate wear on Alves. Alves is always dangerous, but with Pat being a black belt under Daniel Gracie, I think he should be ready for the submissions off his back, for the sweeps that Alves throws at him. And I am worried about an earlier and even at any time, Alves landing an explosive action like a flying knee or a crazy kick. But overall, I think that's low percentage. And I think Sabatini has a chance to look good here. Get a finish, finish hot. And I think he could, potentially get a submission win here. And I'm actually going to go with him here in this fight. I'm going to go with Pat Sabatini to get the win. And in the second fight of the card here, we have the heavyweights. We got Sergey Spivak taking on Jared Vanderaa. And Sergey Spivak, he got a good win his last time out. He was able to go in there, get the win over Carlos Felipe. And, he's welcoming Jared Vanderaa here. He's only 25 years old, so he's clearly going to be improving. And he's gotten better with his boxing. You could tell he has a really nice jab, good 1-2. He has good counter hooks, and he always looks for that counter uppercut. He has a good front knee as well that he'll throw up the middle. He'll throw some decent body kicks, head kicks, but in my opinion, he isn't the greatest kicker. I would holster those kicks for this fight. He does have some solid defense. He keeps a high guard. He tucks his chin. He blocks most of the strikes coming at him. His footwork is getting better, but he can freeze up at times, and he is a little bit heavy on his lead leg, which I believe that he needs to be ready to counter the leg kicks of Vanderaa with the jab, because I do think Vanderaa is going to be trying to attack that calf, and Spivak is going to have the speed and technical advantage in the boxing. I think if he keeps it on the feet, he'll almost certainly get the better of it, but he doesn't really have big power, so I don't see him getting a knockout. He does have 4 knockouts, but those are against low-level competition, and he has been finished just one time, which was in his UFC debut where he got blitzed by Walt Harris, who obviously is a top 15 guy, super athletic knockout artist. And Sergey Spivak, he is a good grappler. He's been able to show that off in both of his wins. He showed good level changes, good ability to adjust against Tai Tuivasa. He hit some good judo throws, In his fight against Carlos Felipe, he was able to dominate the third round with some ground and pound, showed good cardio. He has good arm triangles, good arm bars from mount. He'll look for, bulldog chokes, and he's finished 6 fighters by submission. In this fight, I would probably try to keep it on the feet because he's facing a very big, lumbering guy in Jared Vanderaa, who's won 5 of his last 6 fights. He's finished 4 of his last 5. And, he relies a lot on his physical gifts. He's, has amazing chin. He's super durable, man. I've seen him eat flush punches right on the chin, knees up the middle. He has just an ability to take shots and keep on coming that's, pretty insane. He's a really big guy, man. He has a 6'4", 80-inch reach. He will probe the jab out there, throw some low kicks. His footwork is almost non-existent, though. I mean, he'll stand right in front of guys, totally flat-footed, just try to plod forward. He just really tries to pick at guys with the jab and the low kicks, and then try to get them to get on the inside so he can counter with the lead left hook. He'll mix in some front kicks up the middle. And then once he can get in the clinch and kind of wear on guys, he does have some power with the short uppercuts, with the knees, with the elbows, and he can kind of start to take guys out. He's very physical. He likes to attack the neck from standing. He does have a couple standing guillotine submission wins, but he also forces fighters to go to their backs. He has a good body lock. And, once he gets on top, he actually has really good ground and pound. He has a good mount. He looks like he's actually a pretty good fighter from top position, ranges down some pretty big shots, but, that's going to be the battle here. If he's going to be able to get on the inside, get the takedown, he has a lot of ground and pound finishes. In his last fight, when he got the fight to the mat, he was able to finish it very quickly on the Contender Series. 3 submission victories as well. He has been submitted 2 times, but I don't really see Spivak being able to out-grapple him, really. Vanderaa, he's a Team Quest guy. You know how those guys are with their, grappling defense, and he has a good cardio for heavyweight. If Jared Vanderaa were to be fighting a guy like that has one-punch knockout power, then maybe I would fade him, but facing Sergey Spivak, this is definitely a winnable matchup here. I mean, he's going to have a huge size advantage. I don't see Sergey necessarily having power to hurt Jared, and Jared's going to need to work those low kicks, try to be more aggressive going for the clinch. He needs to get out of space and get his weight and size on Spivak. If he can get on top of Spivak, I think he could get the finish. On the feet, I think Sergey is going to be way faster. I think Sergey is going to throw more volume. And I see him landing clean shots in the boxing on Vanderaa all night. It's just going to be if he can, keep the volume and the combinations going, or Vandera's pressure is going to be too much and he's going to start to be able to, get in the clinch and wear on Sergey and eventually take him out. Because I do think that Vanderaa probably needs a finish to get the win here. And ultimately, I'm going to side with Sergey Spivak. I'm going to say that he has the footwork and the boxing to kind of just outpoint this guy to a decision victory, because I don't really think Vanderaa is that athletic. I don't think he has great footwork, and I don't think he's the best striker. So I do think Sergey could exploit him that way. But this is a fight that I think the line is a little bit off. I think that, potentially Vanderaa is the guy with the value, but the pick is going to be Sergey Spivak. This next one's a good one here. We got Drako Rodriguez. He's going to be taking on Aiemann Zahabi. And with Drako, he made a lot of people some money cashing as an underdog in the Contender Series in September. And he's a blue chip prospect. He went 13-0 as an amateur. He's 7-1 as a pro. He's only 24 years old. And, he showcased that his skills are pretty high level. He hasn't really defeated many great fighters, but he has gone 5 rounds before. He was finished in the 5th round against Tony Gravely, who is currently a UFC fighter. He's a pro boxer, and you could see it in the way he fights. His nasty counter punches, big one-punch knockout power, pretty good footwork. He walks fighters into his lead hooks, into his straight right hand. His hands come fast and straight, and he has good head movement. He has a nice high guard, very dangerous in pocket exchanges. He has tight short hooks, close-range power. When he hurts guys, he closes the show. He's definitely a finisher. Haven't really seen him throw many kicks, but his hands and his counters are real nice. 3 knockouts, and he has been finished by strikes 1 time in MMA, but that was on the ground via ground and pound TKO. Drako Rodriguez, he's a good grappler as well. He doesn't have the best wrestling, but he's more of an opportunistic submission artist. He's good in scrambles, really good guillotine. He's active off his back with the arm bars. He had a really nasty triangle choke on Mana Martinez in his last fight. And he has good submission defense. I've seen him put in some deep submissions, but he survived. He's never been submitted in his career. He has another 3 finishes via submission. And his last fight was his last fight before the Contender Series was his first decision victory of his career. For his opponent, Aiemann Zahabi, he's not really done that well in the UFC. He's only 1-2. He's been super inactive. He won his UFC debut back in 2017, but he hasn't won a fight since then. He was knocked out brutally by Ricardo Ramos, and after that he dropped a decision of Vince Morales. It's been over a year and a half since the last time he fought. I'm not sure if he had an injury, but taking these breaks, being 33 years old, it isn't a good look for his career. But Aiemann Zahabi is a switch stance striker. He's tough. He has good forward pressure. He likes to work off the jab. He'll double jab his way into range for straights, for hooks, for uppercuts, and he'll use the lead hook pretty well. He will throw the jab or the straight, follow with some nice round kicks, body kicks, head kicks, and decent front kicks up the middle. But he's kind of a plodder. His footwork isn't really there. He's kind of slow. And due to that, he can have big moments of inactivity during the fight because he just can't get inside. He doesn't want to open up in fear of getting countered. And he did get countered in his fight with Ricardo Ramos with a brutal spinning elbow that knocked him out. So his chin, I don't think, is really that great either. He has 4 knockouts, and all 6 of his finishes are in the first round. So he's a guy that, hasn't really had a lot of experience winning fights as they go longer. Zahabi is a strong grappler as well. His wrestling is good, but, he has good jiu-jitsu. And he'll try to use his punch to close the distance, get in the clinch. In the clinch, he doesn't really look like he's very physical. But when he gets on top, he was able to take down Vince Morales, but couldn't really keep the top position. He will attack leg locks. He has a good butterfly guard when guys do get on top of him. And he was able to scramble with Ricardo Ramos and reverse him, sweep him a couple times. He's very hard to control, but the issue is just he doesn't have the best top control. He's not very physical, so he struggles to get guys down. And prior to joining the UFC, he did have 6 first-round finishes, but hasn't had a finish since joining the UFC. And when I just look at this fight, I just see, Drako Rodriguez, his trajectory in his career is going up. I mean, he's coming off a big win. He's been much more active. I see him as the better striker, more power, better athlete, faster, better footwork. I think on the ground, Aiemann probably has the better jiu-jitsu and maybe even the better wrestling overall, but I don't necessarily think he's going to be able to get on the inside and take Drako Rodriguez down that easily. And even if he does, like I said, Draco's pretty opportunistic with his scrambling ability. I think he'll be able to work back up to his feet. I think that he has the cardio advantage over Zahabi as well, who definitely slows down in that 3rd round, and taking all these breaks and long layoffs isn't going to help his cardio. So I'm going to go with Rodriguez. I think he's probably going to be able to get the finish, and I do like Drako Rodriguez as a prospect going forward as well. And this is a good fight right here. We got Skelly taking on Jamall Emmers. Interesting fight because we got a guy in Skelly who I believe has been an overachiever in his career. He's gone in there. I think a lot of times people have been expecting him to lose. He doesn't really look like he's necessarily the greatest athlete. His striking is a little weird. It's a little awkward. People can sleep on him, underestimate him, and he's gone out there and he's gotten a lot of wins in the UFC. Has a good UFC record, good record overall in his career. And Jamall Emmers, I feel, is a little bit on the other side of the coin where he has all the physical gifts, he has a lot of hype, a lot of people talking him up, and he's been underwhelming where I feel like he hasn't been able to live up to the hype necessarily. But he still obviously has a chance to do that in his career. He's only had 2 UFC fights. He is coming off his first UFC victory, so hopefully he can, parlay that into some success moving forward. But he's in for a tough fight here with Skelly. This is a very intriguing matchup here because to me, I do think Emmers is going to be the significantly better athlete. He's going to have the better technical striking. He has good 1-2s. He has good footwork. He controls distance pretty well. But I do think his chin is a little bit suspect, and Skelly is a guy that his striking is not very good. It's a little bit awkward. He definitely is going to be getting hit in this fight, and his chin is going to have to hold up. He usually is pretty durable. But, it did look like a couple times against Jordan Griffin, he was getting kind of stunned a little bit. And but when you look at Skelly, he throws with big power. He throws with bad intentions, and he does wobble and hurt a lot of guys. He doesn't really care in these exchanges. He's a wild man. He'll throw caution to the wind and really just throw big, huge punches. Try to get guys to get worried about his hands so he can get down on the legs, or, just land one of these big counter shots and hopefully hurt you. And against Jamall Emmers, who I think has a questionable chin, Skelly can land one of those bombs in an exchange. He could potentially alter the fight. And I also think that Jamall Emmers is one of these guys that, he's obviously a wrestler. He's been able to win a lot of his fights by getting takedowns, top control, grinding these guys out. He has good floating ability. He can advance positions, decent submission game. But against a guy like Skelly, I don't think he wants to use his grappling in this fight. I think he wants to keep it on the feet, because we've seen Emmers submitted a couple times in the past. And Skelly is a guy that's an elite level scrambler, an elite back taker. And he's a good leg locker. He's a guy that is just, you don't want to be with on the ground. He's a shark. So I feel like in this fight, Jamall Emmers is going to have to win it on the feet, maybe use some late takedowns or cage control to maybe seal the rounds. But even that is a little bit risky, because Skelly's just a guy that, could hit a submission at any time. He could hit a front choke. We've seen him hit front chokes in the first 10-15 seconds of a fight. He could take the back and, take you out that way. And he's always looking for the submission. He's opportunistic. So he's a guy that is definitely live for the finish. But I do feel like, he's getting up there in age. He's 35 years old. He's had a lot of injuries, and he's coming back. He's had a long layoff. I just feel like Emmers is probably going to be the sharper guy on the feet and be able to win over 3 rounds, not get clipped, not get drawn into that grappling exchange, and get the decision. But, this is a fight where Skelly is the underdog again, and he does have a chance to pick up the win. So it's a fight that, is a little bit tricky, but I'm going to go with Jamall Emmers to get the win. So we got the first female fight on the card here with Shana Dobson taking on Casey O'Neill. And Casey O'Neill, she's going to be making her UFC debut. She's a Tiger Muay Thai product. She's 5-0. She is the Eternal MMA strawweight champion promotion over there in Australia. And her last 2 fights have been at flyweight. She's won both of those as well. And she's been fighting some decent competition, but this will be her first fight in the United States. She has been training at Extreme Couture for a while now, so I think she should be acclimated to Vegas, ready to go. As far as Casey O'Neill's striking, I would say, it's good but not great. She's long, she's tough, she's aggressive. She has that Muay Thai style. She has nice 1-2 straight shots down the middle. She has a good lead left hook, and she's very tough, but she doesn't move her head very much. She's very hittable. When she does get in a rhythm, she can get a little bit better at slipping and returning, getting a little bit looser, using her reach, and she throws some decent kicks. She does have a good clinch attack. She'll get the Muay Thai plum, throw hard elbows, hard knees, and her striking is improving every fight, and she's only 23 years old, so she has a lot of time to grow. She got her first TKO finish in her last fight, but it was via ground and pound. She is undefeated, but she was finished by knockout twice in her first 2 amateur fights, as amateur MMA fights. I would say Casey O'Neill is a decent grappler as well. She isn't a great wrestler, but tricky submission grappler. She stands tall, and she does overextend on her punches, which does give opponents easy entries into her legs. And she's harder to take down in the clinch, but she can be bullied around a little bit. She isn't super physical. And when she gets put on her back, she is dangerous, though. She will throw up submissions from her guard. She's good at elevating her opponents, not allowing them to get clean ground and pound off. She will hit some nice sweeps. She's very flexible, and in the scramble, she's very slick. She'll look for takedowns in the clinch. When she can get on top, she has heavy hips, good passing ability, and she will move in a dominant position. She has good back takes, good rear naked chokes. Her ground and pound is pretty solid. She doesn't have the best top control. She loses the back mount a lot, and she doesn't really have the best perception of, just where she should be, like with her weight. But she has great cardio, and she can demoralize fighters by sweeping them, making them work, and she has 1 rear naked choke victory. And her opponent, Shana Dobson, she's going to be making a return here with some renowned confidence, I'm sure. She's fresh off the victory, being the biggest underdog in UFC history against Maria Agapova. She still is only 4-4, so she's going to have to prove the doubters wrong again. She is an underdog here. She's going to be older, more experienced, and she has to use that to her advantage in this fight. To me, on the feet, I do feel like Dobson is probably the better technical boxer. But I don't think she's the tougher girl. I think that she's going to struggle with that forward pressure that Casey O'Neill puts on her with the body attack. But for Dobson, she's going to have to use that jab, use her movement, try to walk Casey O'Neill into her overhand right or her straight right, get respect, and get O'Neill to kind of limit the forward pressure, and then, try to just use her boxing to get the victory, because I don't think she's going to be able to win with the takedowns like she did against Maria Agapova. I don't think that O'Neal is a girl that has great cardio, and she fights with a good, consistent game plan that she can use. So I don't think she's gonna gas herself out like Agapova did. Dobson did show some progression with her takedowns and with their, ability to finish on top in that fight against Agapova. But, I feel like that was more Maria losing over Dobson winning. So I do feel like in this fight, I feel like Casey O'Neill should be able to get the victory. I think she should be able to use her forward pressure, her grappling to maybe even potentially hit some takedowns on Dobson, who we've seen dominated in the grappling realm by Roxanne Modafferi. She got dominated in the grappling realm by Sabina Mazo, who kind of I feel like is a similar opponent, even though I think she's a little bit farther ahead in her progression than Casey O'Neill. So I just feel like Casey O'Neill has the game plan to beat Shana Dobson. She has the cardio. She's not going to, hopefully not going to have a big adrenaline dump like Agapova. I think she'll be there for 3 rounds and be able to get the win. So I'm going to go with Casey O'Neill. And up next we got Julian Erosa taking on Nate Landwehr. And to me, this is a very hard fight to call, man. I mean, we got Julian Erosa, Juicy J Erosa, who came in here in his last fight as a big underdog, went in there, got the win over Sean Woodson. And we got Nate Landwehr. He did bounce back. He got his win over Darren Elkins, his first UFC win. But both these guys, they kind of have a similar style. They're fun guys. They're dogs that come forward. They like to get hit. They like to throw a lot of volume, get in dog fights, and see who the tougher guy is, them or their opponent. And Julian Juicy J Erosa, I mean, he's going to be the more technical boxer in my opinion. I think he's going to have the better striking. He's definitely longer. He has better kicks. He's a southpaw. And he just showed a good ability to take it, keep coming in his last fight against Shad Woodson. He stayed steady, and he was just able to break Woodson near the end of that fight, eventually hit that takedown, hit that front choke, and finish the fight. So I do feel like he's going to be the better technical striker early on. I think he's going to be getting the better of Nate Landwehr. But the thing about Julian Erosa that's kind of cost him is he doesn't have the best durability. He's been finished by strikes 4 times in his career. He's been knocked out pretty recently by Julio Arce in a fight that he was winning with the head kick. And I just feel like Nate Landwehr is a guy that is definitely going to have the durability advantage in my opinion, even though I think Erosa has the pure technical striking and the grappling advantage. I feel like Nate Landwehr, both these guys are going to pressure. There's going to be a lot of exchanges, and Landwehr, he's just a guy that throws 1-2s, throws big hooks in the pocket. He'll throw some low kicks, some front kicks up the middle. He seems like he's obviously tough himself. He likes to get into wars, and he has power in his hands. I mean, you've seen him knock out guys, one-punch knockouts, things like that. And he's decent once he gets going. I mean, you'll land some 1-2s. He'll get a little bit technical, so I don't want to act like he's just a pure brawler out there. And man, I mean, for me, this is a tough fight to call because, like I said, I do feel like Julian Erosa is a better fighter. But ultimately, I just think Nate Landwehr and his style, that forward pressure, his ability to eat shots and keep coming, I think that both those guys are going to be doing that. And I just think that Erosa's chin is going to fail him for the 5th time. So I just think Landwehr is going to break him down. He's not necessarily a one-punch knockout guy, but I think that he's going to be able to break him down and knock him out either in that 2nd or the 3rd round. But he has to be careful with those front knees from Erosa, and he just has to be careful with the overall striking that Erosa has, because both these guys are going to be throwing hard, trying to knock each other out. But I just trust the durability more of Nate Landwehr. I think both these guys have similar hearts, similar cardio. And if it goes to decision and Erosa's chin holds up, maybe Erosa will be able to get that decision win. But I think Nate Landwehr will be able to eventually land one on Erosa's chin that puts him out, and Nate Landwehr is going to get that win. This next fight, this is a weird fight to me. I mean, it's Eddie Wineland taking on John Castañeda. Both these guys, have been struggling lately, 1-3 in their last 4 fights. And John Castañeda is 0-1 in the UFC. He fought Nathaniel Wood. Now he's going to fight Eddie Wineland. So he's getting some 2 pretty nice matchups, 2 nice names. Eddie Wineland, he's obviously a veteran. He fought for the UFC title, former WEC champion. And he's coming off a really bad knockout when he faced Sean O'Malley in his last fight. He got knocked out pretty devastating. It could have been a career-altering knockout against a guy that usually throughout his career has been pretty durable, but, that was his fourth knockout loss. He's gotten his jaw broken several times, and, that was a very brutal knockout loss right there. But, in terms of this fight, I do think that, it's close money line for a reason. Eddie Wineland, he has way more experience against more high-level competition, and when you look at his fighting style, not much has really changed in terms of his fighting style. He still likes to, come forward, really pressure, use that herky-jerky, weird movement, weird kind of striking style that he has to counter-strike. He has power, big power in his, in his right hand, and if he lands that shot, he can knock you out. He's, finished almost all of his UFC wins by knockout, and usually he's a knockout or bust kind of guy because he's so low volume, just looks for those counters. But recently he's been getting in more exchanges, kind of causing firefights, and he did a good job against Grigory Popov of doing that. But when you look at John Castañeda, he's a guy that likes to forward pressure himself, has good counter hooks. He has a really nice counter right hook. He's southpaw, so it's going to be a tricky look for Eddie Wineland as well, just in that sense. And I do think that Eddie Wineland, he likes to be the guy that goes forward. And against John Castañeda, I think that the counters are going to make him a little bit hesitant to go forward. And Castañeda is a guy that likes to pressure as well. So once Castañeda's counters start to be effective and Castañeda can pressure, I think Wineland is going to start getting hit more and more because his style, he's 36 years old. It's relying on a lot of movement and a lot of athleticism, fast twitch. Is not necessarily technical, and he's getting very, very hittable these days. He got knocked out very badly his last fight. I don't necessarily think Castañeda is a guy that is going to get a knockout or has big power, but he throws with bad intentions. He has sharp counters, and he could grapple as well. He has good cardio, and I just feel like overall he's going to be the guy throwing more volume coming forward as the fight progresses. I think that this fight is going to kind of look similar to Eddie Wineland's match with Alejandro Perez besides the knockdowns. I don't think that he's going to be able to hurt Castañeda like that. I do feel like Castañeda has a pretty good chin. Castañeda is hittable guy, so that's why I think it's a close line. Because if Castañeda gets hit a couple too many times, maybe, Eddie Wineland could put him out, land a big shot. But Eddie Wineland, he's getting older and older. He's coming off a really brutal knockout loss that I think maybe took something out of him. So I'm going to go with John Castañeda to get a decision win in this one. In this next fight, we got Drakkar Klose taking on Luis Pena. This is a weird matchup. Pena's taking this fight on short notice, and Drakkar Klose, he hasn't fought in a while. He hasn't fought since that epic fight with Beneil Dariush, where it looked like he was very close to winning, and Beneil Dariush just snatched it from him, knocked him out in brutal fashion. And losing to Beneil Dariush is nothing to be ashamed about. And he's had a pretty good UFC career overall. He's going to be taking on Luis Pena, who's kind of been up and down throughout his career. Hasn't really shown to be the greatest fighter in the world, and he's coming off that loss to Kama Worthy, where he got submitted in that third round. When you look at Luis Pena, he has a lot of physical gifts on the feet. He's 6'3", 72-inch reach. He's southpaw. He's athletic, but doesn't know how to use his reach, man. Doesn't really have good boxing combinations. Doesn't have power in his hands. Lets guys close the distance, and he's really just a grappler. He does have some good tricks he'll use, like those front knees up the middle, the flying knees. But I think Drakkar Klose, with that meat and potato style, the leg kicks, the 1-2s, the forward pressure, the boxing, is going to be, way better than what Pena has on the feet. Even though Drakkar Klose has struggled with that southpaw look a little bit, I just think that his forward pressure is going to limit a lot of what Pena could do on the feet. And I think that, his leg kicks, his, just his pressure boxing is going to be a lot for Pena to deal with. In terms of the grappling, that's where Pena, I think, has more of a chance to win. Even though a lot of people see Pena as a striker, he's been at AKA, American top team, and he's trained with a lot of good grapplers, and you could tell that when guys pressure him, he doesn't really control the distance very well, and he likes to grapple. He likes, get in that body lock clinch, try to hit a trip or circle to the back. When he could take your back, he's really good from there with his control. Doesn't really have great submission game, but can just hold you in that position, bleed the clock, win rounds. And for Drakkar Klose, he's had trouble a little bit, even though he's a college wrestler. He has gotten taken down in fights. I mean, Christos Giagos took him down, Bobby Green took him down, Benio Dariush took his back, Christos Giagos took his back. So he's had, I think Mark Jacasey even took his back. I know Jacasey took him down. And, so he's had issues with takedown defense a little bit in his career. And that's Luis Pena's path to victory, in my opinion. If he can take his back, he could probably win around that way just by backpacking Drakkar Klose. So Klose has to know that when he pressures, Pena's going to be trying to level change, try and do a duck under and take that back, and he has to deny that. He has to, I don't think he's going to be in danger of getting submitted or anything like that, but, he just has to be able to either keep the fight on the feet or be on top, because I think if he's on top, I think he'll have success controlling, being the better wrestler. I think that he'll have success controlling against the fence as well, because I just think he's the more physical guy. So I'm going to go with Drakkar Klose to win a decision in this one. I just feel like he's the better fighter overall. Pena's taking this fight on short notice, but if Pena can eventually come in here and all of a sudden he's put something together, he's gotten a little bit more confident with his striking, or maybe he could use his grappling to get the win. But I'm going to go with Drakkar Klose here to get the decision. In this next fight coming up, we have an intriguing matchup here with Jared Gordon taking on Danny Chavez. Danny Chavez, he's back, and, this time he's a favorite. He cast as an underdog against TJ Brown, and, he looked impressive, so they're putting him as the favorite here. He's an MMA Masters product. He's won 4 fights in a row. Obviously, MMA Masters has been on a roll. They've been looking really good recently. And his last fight against TJ Brown is a similar look to Jared Gordon. But it really is hard for me to make a pick or break down this fight, because the only footage I was able to find was a quick snippet showing the knockout over Pipi Vargas for Danny Chavez, and then his win that he had against TJ Brown. But obviously, he's a slick guy. He controls distance very well. He's that really nice low calf kick taekwondo type of style where he tries to be in and out, stay long. He has a really nice counter 1-2. He looks fast and flowy, and that's kind of what he likes to use, is just his counter boxing, his 1-2s and his low kicks, try to snipe guys, control the distance, and keep him on the outside. It does look like he has some big power in his hands. He drops and rocks a lot of guys. Previous to his fight against TJ Brown, he did have 3 first round knockouts in a row. His grappling, is kind of a question mark. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but he has no submission wins. He did do a decent job of denying the takedown of TJ Brown, and he was also able to reverse and hit a couple takedowns against TJ Brown of his own. So he seems like he also has some, confidence in his wrestling. I've heard interviews where he said that he started out as a wrestler. He believes he can out-grapple Jared Gordon, but he knows that his path to victory is on the feet. So, it's at least he's confident in that area. It did seem like Danny Chavez was getting a little bit tired in his fight with TJ Brown. That third round is pretty close, and he also backs up to the fence at times, which does give Jared Gordon the opportunity to get in on those legs or the body locking, hit the takedown, and that's obviously what Jared Gordon is going to be looking to do. His striking is decent. He uses his pressure boxing and decent kicks to get on the inside. He doesn't really have power, and he doesn't have a good chin, so in this fight, he's going to need to get it to the ground because he's hittable. He doesn't have a great chin. Chavez definitely has power. I think Chavez is going to be way better at range, the way faster, slicker guy. So Gordon knows what he has to do. He's going to have to get his hands on this guy, take him down like he took down Chris Fishgold. And, if he takes down Danny Chavez, we don't really know what Danny Chavez has off of his back. But we do know Jared Gordon has really good control, really good ground and pound, good submissions. And, he wears guys out, and has the ability to, if he's the guy implementing his game plan, which is getting takedowns and mauling, he has good cardio and he can keep it going. But if you could strike or you could deny his takedown attempts, he does gas out pretty hard. In this type of fight, like I said, it's hard to call because I do think Jared Gordon, he's a level above TJ Brown, even though he has the same kind of style, pressure boxing and takedowns. I do think TJ is a little bit of a better athlete than Jared Gordon. He has more power, more dangerous on the feet. But, if Jared Gordon gets a takedown or Jared Gordon can get in and wear on Danny Chavez, get him tired in that third round, maybe he could finish him. Maybe he could, have success with the top control. But I'm going to go with Danny Chavez. I'm just going to have faith that, the black belt, him being training for a long time, training out of a great gym. He has good training partners. He's better on the feet. He's the better athlete. And I'm going to say that he's able to deny the takedowns, or if he does get taken down, get back up to his feet and get a decision win here. But not extremely confident in either guy in this matchup. And up next here, we have a rebooking of a fight that was supposed to happen a couple months ago, or maybe even a little bit less than that, with Nassourdine Imavov and Phil Hawes. Nassourdine Imavov, he did good in his debut against Jordan Williams. He had some adversity, but he was able to endure a war and come through on the other side. And he's a fun fighter to watch. He's well-rounded. He has good skills. Showed off a little bit of both in his debut. He's a good striker, but he also has good wrestling chops. He is light on his feet, good footwork, speed. He's called the sniper for a reason. He's very accurate, good one-shot attacks, good pull counters. He has a good jab, good lead hook, and he throws a really nice one too. He's always looking to land that straight right hand. He'll look to, land it with a pull counter. He'll rip the straight to the body. He'll, has really nice right hooks, overhand rights. He'll mix in some nice elbows. He isn't much of a kicker, but he will attack with some front knees up the middle. He doesn't really use his lower body as much as he uses his hands. He did get dropped in his last fight due to a headbutt, but I don't think he was really used to fighters walking through his shots like Jordan Williams did, which made it a tougher fight. And Imavov's movement definitely slowed down in the third round. He doesn't throw a lot of volume and combinations, so if you can eat his shots and walk him down, that does make the fight close. But he has good movement. He's hard to hit. He does hold his hands low, and he has a style of goading opponents to throw so he can counter. That does give a guy like Phil Hawes a chance to land, and Jordan Williams did land some heavy crosses, some looping hooks, and that's how you have to fight Imavov. You have to make it ugly. But Imavov showed up some good grappling in his debut. It was almost forced out of him, but he had good level changes, good singles, good doubles. He could chain wrestle against the cage. He has good control once he gets the takedowns. He didn't really show the ability to control Williams on the mat too well, but he did get a couple really deep front choke submissions, and other guys probably would have gotten submitted by those attempts. He was able to slow down the fight by clinching, showed good fight IQ. In this fight with Phil Hawes, I don't really see him looking to grapple offensively, but he does have that really nice front choke, which Hawes has dealt with and has had issues with in the past. And if he can get on top of Phil Hawes, Hawes doesn't really seem comfortable off his back. Imavov's cardio did seem a little bit questionable, but the fight with Jordan Williams is a very high-paced fight. I do feel he has a big cardio advantage over Phil Hawes. But Phil Hawes, he blitzed through his UFC debut with flying colors. He destroyed Jacob Malkoun in less than 20 seconds. He didn't even absorb one strike. He's won 5 fights in a row, and he has confidence right now. And that may be all he needs to show his full potential. I mean, people have been saying he's been really good for a long time now. And he's improved his striking a lot. He's pretty basic, but he comes forward. He has a high guard. He has good feints, good false starts, good jab. He'll throw the jab, body head, and he throws it stiff. He has a nice lead hook. He'll throw the 1-2 lead hook cross combination. He likes to throw a heavy overhand right. Sometimes he can overextend and just off-balance himself when he throws, but when he lands, he knocks guys silly. He has good head movement. He could slip and return with power overhands and hooks. He has some heavy low kicks. He'll even throw some front kicks up the middle, some round kicks to the body, to the head. I do think Hawes is going to struggle to strike with Imavov. Imavov has a major speed and footwork advantage. I think Hawes is going to find it hard to get his range and land on him. But in the pocket, if he gets in there, I think he could potentially land a big shot. But I see him being uncomfortable exchanging because of the counter threat. Hawes can get hit with big shots coming in. I think he's going to get pinged up by Imavov. Unless he lands that one big shot on Imavov, I think he's going to definitely need to wrestle here a lot to get the victory. But Hawes does have 7 knockout wins in his 9 victories. And he's been knocked out in 2 of his last 3 losses. But Phil Hawes, he is a physical freak. He's a great wrestler. He's a national, JUCO wrestling champion. He has good double legs. He's very strong when he gets his hands connected. Sometimes he could shoot without setting it up, and that has gotten him in trouble in the past. And once he gets tired, he'll shoot some really bad takedown attempts. He also has a tendency to put himself in positions to get guillotined. He got guillotined against Luis Taylor. Got threatened with a really deep guillotine against Julian Marquez. He isn't great off of his back, and he has been finished in most of his fights that have gone past the first round. So his cardio is not really good. Both guys kind of have first round finishing ability and they're first round finishers, but I think Hawes is the guy that doesn't carry it as much as Imavov does. I think Imavov will likely win by knockout or guillotine here. I just think he's too good of a striker. I think he's going to walk Hawes into shots, avoid the power punches, the kicks of Hawes. I think Hawes is going to try to wrestle, and that's going to get him tired. I don't think it's going to be easy to take down Imavov or hold him down. And I see Imavov landing across, either drops and finishes Hawes or hurts Hawes, makes him panic wrestle, and then gets Hawes caught in a front choke. So I'm fairly confident Imavov will win, and I think he's going to be able to get the finish here. Got another heavyweight fight up next here with Alexey Oleinik taking on Chris Daukaus. This is another strange fight in my opinion. I mean, it's another fight where they're trying to put one of these younger prospects up against a veteran here. But Chris Daukaus, he's going from being a big underdog against Parker Porter and a big underdog against Rodrigo Nascimento to being a favorite over Alexey Oleinik, a guy that's beating guys like Mark Hunt, Fabricio Verdum, Mirko Krokop. So very, it's a weird line because Daukaus, he's gone in there and he's done what he's had to do in his 2 fights in the UFC. He went in there, dominated these 2 guys that are kind of lower level, and Parker Porter and Rodrigo Nascimento took him out in the first round. But now he's fighting a guy that's had 75 pro fights, a guy that's been in there with the cream of the crop, the elite of the elite. I mean, this guy's coming off a fight with Derrick Lewis. He's coming off fights with Fabricio Verdum. So, I mean, this is a huge just step up in competition for Chris Daukaus here. And, I mean, Chris Daukaus, he is going to have the advantage on the feet. He's going to be more athletic, way faster, and he has good boxing skills. I mean, he also has the ability, and it's kind of a weird ability, not a weird ability, but it's just when you look at him, it doesn't look like he's a fast twitcher, like a guy that can close the distance and be explosive. But he can close that distance with some nice crosses, nice combinations. He landed that nasty knee against Parker Porter to end his combination to win their fight by knockout, and he finished Rodrigo Nascimento really quickly. He landed a check hook, dropped him. When Nascimento got back up to his feet, he swarmed him, finished him off with some big hooks. So Daukaus, I mean, he's shown the ability to finish the fight in the first round. He's finished 7 of his 10 wins there, and he's finished 9 of his 10 wins overall by knockout. So usually when he wins, he's going to be finishing you with strikes. And, he's never lost a decision. He's 1-0 in decisions. He's never gotten a submission win, even though he is a black belt. And he has been submitted against Sean Teed, and I actually was able to watch that fight, and it seemed like once he got taken down in that second round against Sean Teed, he was really exhausted. Teed was able to submit him, and Sean Teed isn't the greatest fighter, so if he could do that, Alexey Oleinik could definitely do that. I do feel like Chris Daukaus has cardio issues. In terms of his grappling, I mean, it's kind of a question mark because I have seen him, use cage control, grind guys against the fence, and I've seen him hit some clinch takedowns against guys like Zuan Yanwu, against a couple other low-level guys, but it doesn't seem like he has the best top control. He obviously has no submission victories, and I've seen him in certain fights, like with Sean Teed, and fights that get extended, he does end up grappling against the cage a lot, and he can be taken down, and I've seen him submitted, and he's been submitted and knocked out, so he's been finished in all 3 of his losses. He's been knocked out twice. Alexey Oleinik, I mean, he's had issues recently. I mean, some people say that he has a bad chin, but I mean, getting knocked out by Derrick Lewis, getting knocked out by Fabricio Verdum, by Walt Harris, I mean, those guys are cream of the crop knockout artists. Oleinik, he's only been finished by strikes 7 times in 75 fights. So I don't think he has a bad chin at all. I actually think he's a very durable guy. And his striking is unorthodox, but Daukaus does get backed up at times, and Alexey is good at using that jab to back guys up and throw those big casting hooks, uppercuts. He will swarm on guys against the fence. And if he can get Daukaus tired and back him up, then all he needs to use is use that combination, get in on that single leg, get on that body lock, take him down. And when he gets on top, it's going to be his world. And I just don't know if Chris Daukaus is going to be able to survive down there with a guy like Alexey Oleinik. Alexey Oleinik is a submission over position guy. I mean, that's how he has so many freaking submission victories. But sometimes that does, lose, or it's to his detriment at times. Like, he'll go for that scarf hold submission, and, he does expose his back, and he's been, reversed and swept a couple times due to that. But he's really good at finishing that submission usually. And he was able to almost submit a guy like Derrick Lewis in the first round. So he's shown the ability to get these guys down that are explosive, that are, power hitters. And I just feel like he has so much more experience than Chris Daukaus, man. I mean, if you look at Chris Daukaus' record, his best win is probably Parker Porter or Rodrigo Nascimento. Before the UFC, he fought all guys with either, 500 records or losing records. He has never fought a guy even close to the level of Alexey Oleinik. And if he can't get that first round knockout, he hasn't shown the ability to win later on in fights. Alexey Oleinik doesn't have the best cardio either, but he's shown the ability to push, and he's been in there with a lot better guys. I think that if Chris Daukaus can't get this quick knockout, I think it's going to be a long night for him. And I'm going to go with Alexey Oleinik to come in here and get a submission victory and win as an underdog again. I just feel like he has so much more experience. He's fought way, way, way higher level competition. And he should be able to come in here, avoid that early knockout against Daukaus, get in his world, and end up doing his thing. So I'm going to go with Alexey Oleinik here. I don't think Chris Daukaus is on the level of an Overeem, on the level of a Verdum, on the level of a Wall Harris, technically or, explosive, athletically either. So I think Oleinik is going to be able to eventually get it to his world and do what he wants. So I'm going to go with Alexey Oleinik in this one. And in the next bout, we got a similar matchup, another heavyweight fight, another fight with a veteran, Andrei Arlovski, taking on the up-and-comer and Tom Aspinall. In this one, there's even more question marks in this fight because Tom Aspinall, if you look at his wins, he's never won a fight that's gone longer than 2 minutes or 1 minute and 30 seconds. So he goes in there, gets all of his wins really early, usually by knockout. And he's a guy that, has shown really good, distance control, really nice 1-2s, good boxing, good power, good fakes, good feints, and he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but hasn't really, he can level change, get it to the ground. We saw that in his last fight against Alan Badeau. He was able to hit that takedown, but we haven't really seen Aspinall clipped heavy on the feet, so we don't know how good his chin is. And if you watch his fight with Stuart Austin, he was taken down several times very easily in that fight. He was controlled on the mat. Eventually, he did get a sweep, almost got the finish on top, which I will say he does have good ground and pound when he gets in top position, but he got a little bit sloppy, got caught in a heel hook, and that's one of his losses. His other loss was a 12-6 elbow loss, so I don't really think that one is a legitimate loss. But, both his fights that went out the first round, he was, found a way to lose both fights, so he's still never won a fight that's gone past the first round or gone past a couple minutes. And, he hasn't really faced a lot of adversity either, but he's facing Andrei Arlovski, who's won 2 fights in a row, who's got some momentum coming in here. He's obviously a former UFC champion. He's seen it all. He's usually a guy that goes to decision, so he's a guy that usually extends the fight. But Pitbull, I don't think he's someone that's going to get someone necessarily super tired by pushing a pace. He likes to, use his movement, uses what usually he has is superior speed in the heavyweight division. He has good footwork, and he has real nice feints. So he's been using a lot of feints and leg kicks recently to kind of stymie guys. And then when they come forward, he'll throw these, big shots. He does have power. He has decent spinning attacks as well. And he has good counter hooks, good counter punching. And, these guys get kind of gun shy because of his power. He's able to leg kick and feint his way to a win. But with Tom Aspinall, I think that Aspinall is going to be fast, just like Arlovski. So I think he's going to be able to cut the cage off and, match the footwork and, the outside speed that Arlovski has, cut him off. And I think that, when they exchange in the pocket, Aspinall is going to be the faster guy with his hands. But he does have to be wary of the counters of Arlovski. And I think he has to be wary of that low kick. I think he has to address that kick by checking, and he has to really address it early. You can't let Arlovski start to establish a few low kicks. I feel like Aspinall, he's a guy that is a former boxer. He, knows what it is with feints and fakes. Darren Till, he trains with Darren Till a lot, and Darren Till is one of the best guys in MMA with feints. So I feel like Aspinall is probably going to be able to read those feints of Arlovski and not let them affect him as much as a guy like Tanner Boser. And I think that Tom Aspinall is just he's undefeated. He's not someone that's tasted a loss, so I don't think he's going to be as weary in there as a guy like Boser. I think he's going to go in there, fight the same way he always does, even though it is weird sometimes you see a guy like Arlovski there and it can kind of mesmerize you. But I think Aspinall is going to go in there, do what he does, and get another first-round finish here. So I'm going to go with the Aspinall with the younger guy. But, I mean, if it gets past the first round, there's a lot of question marks, so it's hard to back him at that high of a price. But going to go with Tom Aspinall to get the win once again. Moving along here, we got Charles Rosa taking on Darrick Minner in this one. And this is a good matchup on paper because we got two jiu-jitsu black belts. There's probably going to be a lot of fun scrambles and grappling exchanges in this one because Darrick Minner and Charles Rosa, both on the feet, I mean, they're not similar, but Charles Rosa, I think, is definitely the better striker. I just don't think either guy is a great striker is what I'm trying to say. But, Charles Rosa, he's a guy that has decent movement. He likes to move around, use a lot of kicks on the outside, try to catch you with either the straight left or the straight right, and, pot shot you from the outside and throw, decent amount of volume, try to not get hit, and sometimes he'll mix in some takedowns. He has average offensive wrestling, but he's, able to, hit opportunistic takedowns, and he is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. On top, he isn't super dangerous. He's actually more dangerous off of his back, in my opinion. If you look at his record, he has a lot of armbar and triangle finishes. So, he even got one of those against Manny Bermudez. And even previous to the UFC, he would get a lot of first-round finishes. But in the UFC, he's only gotten one. Darrick Minner, I mean, that's obviously his MO, man. He wants to get in there and get that first-round submission. He has 23 submissions in the first round. I think he has 23 submissions in his career, 24 submissions in his career. On the feet, Minner likes to throw a lot of kicks as well, and I do feel like Minner is the faster fighter, and he's more aggressive. He throws wild punches. Both guys kind of throw wild punches, but I do feel like Rosa, with that straight left down the middle, if both guys get tired, he can maybe kind of time that and hurt Darrick Minner. But early on, I do think Minner, with his wild striking with the hands, is going to be able to probably get on the inside. And Rosa, I think a lot of his kicks are going to, be negated by the takedown attempts of Minner. I think if he kicks Minner, I'll probably be able to get him down. I do like the fact that Darrick Minner, I mean, he's only 30 years old, and he has a ton of fights on the regional scene. I feel like, when you're fighting on the regional scene like that, sometimes it's like if you can't get that first round submission, who knows how much Darrick Minner was training, what he was doing during those times, how long of notice he took for the fight. Now he's in the UFC. He's getting full camps. He's getting nice paychecks. I'm sure he likes that. He's moved to Glory full time, which he has James Krause in his corner, and Glory MMA has been on a freaking run lately, man. And I do feel like Minner, he has skills. I mean, he has good wrestling, really, really, really slick submissions. I mean, his guillotine is nasty. He has really good arm triangles. He'll take the back, super aggressive. And Minner has a lot of fights where it's just bad fight IQ or just a lack of just discipline in one moment. He just loses his edge for a second, and he has a lot of fights where he's dominating on top and he gets submitted, and that's something that he needs to be very wary of against Charles Rosa, because he could be dominating this fight with the grappling, and Charles Rosa could hit an armbar, hit a triangle, and get him out of there. And he has to be ready for that. And he also, has to be ready to pack lunch and go 3 rounds, because Rosa's a guy that he showed in his fight with Bryce Mitchell. He's extremely hard to submit. But I do feel like Minner is live for a submission in the first round. He always is. I mean, his last fight, he's plus 260, went in there, submitted TJ Laramie early. And in this fight, I'm just going to go with Darrick Minner because I feel like he's the better athlete. On the feet, I feel like it's similar. I don't think like Rosa has some sort of crazy knockout power, so I don't think he's necessarily going to hurt him that badly. So I think Minner is going to be able to at least eat the shots or be competitive in the striking, crashing the distance with his boxing. I think that once he gets on the inside, he'll probably be able to get takedowns because Rosa doesn't really have good takedown defense. And in top position, he could find a submission or he could grind his way out to a decision victory. I like the Glory MMA full camp. I think that now that he's in the UFC, he's got a win under his belt. I think that he's gonna start to be a little bit more composed and take everything more serious and have better cardio, have more of a game plan. So I'm gonna go with Darrick Minner in this one to get the upset victory. In the co-main event here, we got Ketlen Vieira taking on Yana Kunitskaya, and this is going to be my most confident pick on the card. I got Ketlen Vieira here. Yana Kunitskaya, I mean, I've just never been that impressed with her. She's a girl that just really likes to use her physicality, grind girls against the fence, and to me this is the worst type of matchup for Foxy because Kunitskaya, I don't think she's going to have the physicality advantage on a girl like Vieira. She doesn't like getting pressured, and Vieira has much better boxing, sharper counters, and I think Vieira is going to be able to piece her up on the feet, walk her down. I don't think Yana Kunitskaya is going to be able to hold her against the fence. I don't think Kunitskaya is going to be able to take her down. And I think Ketlen Vieira is actually going to be able to take down Yana Kunitskaya at will whenever she wants to. So I just feel like Ketlen Vieira, I mean, she's better on the feet. I think she's better on the ground. I think she's going to blend it all together. I think she's going to use her forward pressure. She's going to, maul Yana against the cage, take her down with some judo trips, with some throws, get on top, land some big ground and pound. And I just see her dominating this fight and getting the victory. So I just feel like Ketlen Vieira, she's the better fighter and she should be able to get this win. I think that. So ultimately, I mean, I do think Vieira could get the finish, but I'm going to go with Vieira to win via decision. I think it's going to be dominant. I don't really see a lot of spots that Kunitskaya could win this fight. So I'm going to go with Ketlen Vieira, and I think that, she definitely is going to get the win here. Then finally here we got the main event. We got Curtis Blaydes taking on Derrick Lewis. And man, this fight that's kind of has some bad blood, and they've been trying to set this fight up for a while now. I mean, they were supposed to fight, I believe, a couple months back. Curtis Blaydes obviously had COVID, so they had to, push it back to this date. But, they've both been talking a little bit of shit, and, Derrick Lewis and Curtis Blaydes have both called each other out. So I think, they've been circling each other for a long time. They're, at the top of the division. The winner of this fight definitely is going to be in prime position to be, really close to a title shot. Derrick Lewis obviously has already had his chance at a belt. Curtis Blaydes, he's trying to get his first opportunity. But, with both these guys, I mean, we know what they're going to want to do. Derrick Lewis, he has Knockout King tattooed on his chest. I mean, he wants to go in there and, swing those bombs, man, clip Curtis Blaydes, knock him out, throw that flying knee. I mean, he just wants to clip Curtis Blaydes or something and take him out. And Curtis Blaydes, he has the most takedowns in UFC heavyweight history. He wants to go in there, get the fight to the ground, put Derrick Lewis on his back, throw those elbows, and take him out. And, in terms of who's the better fighter, technically, I mean, Curtis Blaydes. Curtis Blaydes probably even has the more technical striking. But, obviously Derrick Lewis is just so explosive. He has one-punch knockout power. He's the better athlete. And, he's very strong physically, even though I don't think he has the best wrestling. Curtis Blaydes, man, he has some of the best setups for his double legs in the game. And, his takedowns for a heavyweight and just his relentlessness is insane. I mean, we saw him take down Alexander Volkov 14 times. I mean, that's pretty incredible, man. And he was able to push a pace for 5 rounds. He won, I believe, 4 of the 5 rounds. He did get rocked very badly with the knee in one of the rounds, and he did look like he was getting a little bit tired. But when you're pushing a pace like that, I mean, you deserve to be a little bit tired. But Curtis Blaydes, man, I mean, the issue with him, I guess, in this fight, you could say, is he's been clipped in multiple fights. He's been rocked and wobbled. And you don't want to get clipped and hurt against a guy like Derrick Lewis because he'll finish the show and he'll put your lights out. He has the most knockouts in the history of the heavyweight division. So if you're looking at this money line and you see Curtis Blaydes is like a minus 400, I think that's kind of insane because you got a guy that's going to be live for every second that he's in the fight to get a knockout in Derrick Lewis. And Curtis Blaydes, I mean, he is going to have the game plan to go in there, put Derrick Lewis on his back. Obviously, we've seen Derrick Lewis doesn't deal well with wrestlers, and we've seen him taken down by guys like Alir Latifi. We've seen him taken down by guys like Blagoy Ivanov. We've obviously seen Daniel Cormier go in there and get a submission. So on paper, it is a great matchup for Curtis Blaydes. I mean, most matchups are great for Curtis Blaydes. There's not really many guys in the UFC heavyweight division that can match his wrestling, match his pace, and, just match that. He's explosive and a good athlete himself, so it's hard. He's a very good fighter. But Derrick Lewis is one of these guys that, he does have a really good ability to just stand up from bottom, conserves his energy, so he's live for a knockout through all 5 rounds. And I just feel like that line is very disrespectful. I think that, there's a lot of value on Derrick Lewis at that line. I think that, it is kind of value hunting because, like I'm saying, I do think that he has a tough road ahead of him. It's a hard style to beat for him in Curtis Blaydes, but I do think that obviously he's live for that knockout. Ultimately, though, I'm going to stick with the safe pick. I'm going to go with Curtis Blaydes. I think that he's going to be able to work his takedown wrestling game and maybe even eventually wear on Derrick Lewis and get him out of there with some of those big elbows. But I do feel like Derrick Lewis is a live underdog in every fight that he's in. He's proven that. He's cashed as an underdog multiple times in the UFC, so don't think it's the strangest thing if Derrick Lewis comes in here and pulls off an upset knockout, but I do think that Curtis Blaydes is the rightful favorite and probably is going to be able to go in there and get the victory. So there you have it, guys. That's the breakdown for UFC Vegas 19, Derrick Lewis versus Curtis Blaydes. This is a fun card. It should be fun to watch. As far as the most confident pick, it's going to be Ketlen Vieira. The parlay of the week is going to be Ketlen Vieira and Drako Rodriguez. And as far as my underdog of the week, it's going to be Nassourdine Imavov and Pat Sabatini. So thanks for watching, guys. Once again, I do have the goal of 300 likes for this video, so please hit that like button. We hit that goal of 250 last time, so that was awesome, and it really does help, everyone that hits that like button. I really do appreciate it. Put a comment down below. I mean, what do you think? Do you agree with my picks? There's a lot of fights on this card, so which fights are you most looking forward to? What do you think about the main event? And what do you think about some of these other fights just scattered throughout the card? I would love to hear your opinion, but also check out the Patreon if you haven't checked it out. There's, I want to give a shout out to everyone that's joined that. We're coming off, a successful week with UFC betting last week, so we're going to hopefully, move that forward into this week. We also have an LFA this week as well, so I'm going to be dropping a video for, LFA on Friday on the Patreon as well. Going to be dropping that UFC betting video on there on Friday or Saturday too, so make sure to check that out. And thanks for all the support, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.